Let's look at the need for us to look at this headlong. We are civil servants caught having sex in their offices, according to the Equatorial Guinea government, will face severe measures. The vice president of the Equatorial Guinea warned after hundreds of allegedly pornographic videos were leaked to the public. The videos reportedly involved high-ranking civil servant Baltasa Egonga having sex with various women, including the wives of prominent officials in his office. Mr. Egonga, just to note, is the head of the country's National Financial Investigation Agency, just as we have the EFCC in Nigeria. And also, he is a relative of the country's president. He was arrested on 25th October and accused of embezzling a huge sum of money from state coffers and depositing it in secret accounts in the Cayman Islands. He has not commented on this accusation though, but Mr. Egonga was then taken to the infamous Black Beach prison in the capital, Malabo, where it is alleged that opponents of the government are subjected to brutal treatment. His phones and computers were also seized, and a few days later, the intimate videos started popping up and appearing online. What are these implications? Let's say ladies first, so I'll be starting from my extreme left, where I have a woman activist, Doris Ogbaefon. Thanks for coming, Doris.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, and next to Doris is a public affairs analyst, a clergyman, and the senior pastor of Sword of Liberation Bible Church, Bishop Austin Igbasan. Thanks for coming, Bishop.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers.
And also joining me, I have a legal practitioner and, of course, a Muslim cleric, Malam Nuruddin Asunoge. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers.
And joining me, Vazom, is a fine legal practitioner also. As we go on this course, we will be having an opportunity to be joined by another guest, Vazom. Let's quickly kickstart this with you, Malam Nuruddin. Now, we have all of this that really is blowing the minds of Nigerians and, of course, the world over the revealing pornographic videos that were circulated online involving Baltasa Egonga having sex escapades with over 400 women. What do you see, according to the Islamic perspective, on how to tackle these issues of, you know, bringing out these videos publicly without the consent of those involved? And how does the Islamic laws frown on this?
Well, thank you very much. I will tell you most honestly that I wasn't oblivious of the fact that the story was trending, except that I deliberately had to shut my mind to this because the inner landscape of one's being needed to be protected from all forms of putridity, and that I have studiously done. Perhaps because I got coerced and overwhelmed by the invitation from you that I should be here, that I was constrained to begin to look at what was done. I think it's a shameful thing. It's a thing that debases humanity. Sex ought to be something that is spiritualized by a consciousness that translates it into an imperative of action. What differentiates us from animals is that we are endowed with this ratiocinating capability, which will mean that whatever we do must studiously be done to enhance and to promote our humanity. But having said that, for those who stumbled into this, the primary investigation was for fraud. A man had taken advantage of the position he occupied, peculated was supposed to be his public resource. And what was more harrowing was the fact that that was what he was appointed to be protective of. And so the state had a responsibility to say, hey, let us catch the one who ought to be catching the thieves for us. In the course of investigation, it was said that persons stumbled into this. Did they do well by bringing this into public domain? I say no. The sensibilities, the sensitivity of people have been offended by what they did. In Islam, you can't do that. You needed to be protective. Whatever Allah had kept secret for somebody, leave him to his creator until the day he begins to judge him.
Oh, really?
Yes, so you are not supposed to borrow into it. But here we're dealing with a man whom I think has more of a psychiatric problem. and who ought not to be kept in durance, but to get psychiatric attention. When you did what was heinous, what was evil, and you could find the gusto in filming what you were doing, that was egregious. How would a normal human being do that? I think as at the time all of that happened, the fellow had lost sanity. When one gets into sexual relationship and the intendment is just for the gratification of one's, sensualistic proclivity, that individual has a problem. It ought to be done, like I have said before, with a consciousness that translates it into an imperative of action. One that reminds you that God, as a primary creator who created Adam Eve the way he did, had abdicated that responsibility to us by making us secondary creator, which becomes possible only when we responsibly get involved in sexual activity. That was not exactly what he was doing, giving the array of women, including those who were supposedly to come under his protection, cousin's wife, uncle's wife, and stuff like that. So if he had the temerity, the infantile disposition towards recording such an outrageous act, it will mean that that fellow needed assistance. He honestly needed to be helped, and putting that in public space would only enhance and enlarge the space for people who want to do what he has done. The only thing those persons will be doing and doing differently is how to become more protective of that particular thing they had kept in a way and manner that, except for those they allow access to it, they will not have direct access to what they have done.
Wow. Quite intriguing. What you said generally is that this should have been kept secret without being published.
He should not have done it in the first place. Those who published are guilty under the law, if you were to, because, I mean, they didn't, it was an infraction, a violation of a privacy that he had. That wasn't the assignment they were given. So, when you deal with the law, for example, there is a tall wall between morality and the law. That was supposedly private to him, except if that was an object of investigation and you needed to get the permission of a court. I mean, it is not even supposed to be put in public domain, because what purpose was it supposed to serve there, except that it will corrupt more minds and give publicity to what ordinarily we should all be ashamed of.
All right, thank you. Well, let's join you, Bishop Austin Igbasan. I want to see the Christian perspective, how the Christendom will react to this, because some have said, why did it even go out at all? Should the Christendom have kept it, will the Christendom have kept it secret if it had the powers to do so, looking at what transpired?
Well, as far as the Bible is concerned, one, sex is something that is spiritual, just like my brother said here. It is something that ought to be done in secret. And when you look at Sodom and Gomorrah, they display all this kind of lifestyle, and it attracted the anger of God to come upon them. Now, don't forget that even the angels that went to Lot's house, that Lot didn't know they were angels. The guys, they came, they said they want to rape them. Lot had to bring out his two daughters who are virgin and said, please violate this one. Because, why did he say they should violate? Because he knew that is their lifestyle. But those guys said, no, we are not doing this. We want your visitor. It is your visitor. Until those visitors decided to blindfold those who came. That was the time that Lot got to know that the people he hosted in his house are not just mere men. They are angels. Now, coming to this, what has happened? Number one, the position that the man occupied is a sensitive position of a hunter that's supposed to be a role model. But when you look at these people, with what I have gathered, what the guy did, if you look at it now, the wife also have done the same thing. The wife have about 500 tapes. So when I did my research about them, it's like something that is like their tradition. Even one of the tapes that they said the wife did, the man was there, the wife was there, other persons were there, and they were exchanging themselves, going around like in the circle. The man, his wife, and other fellow friends and other women doing it. Now you can see the excitement with the man. What the man did was extremely wrong. to Christian faith, it is totally wrong. Now what he did, there are a lot of people doing it in Nigeria in different offices. There is no establishment you get to today that what that guy did, they are not practicing it. The only difference is that they don't, most of them did not film what they are doing, because they are also afraid that it is something that is wrong they are doing. Somebody doing something that is morally wrong, not even talking of religion, morally wrong. It is only animal that does such thing in the public, like dog and the rest of them, that they did it in the public, no shame. But this man did so. I think it is their tradition, because the wife also did the same thing after having 6 children for the husband. Now look at the number of people, the close people. Look at the caliber of people in power. I want to tell you that what that guy did is happening in Nigeria. It's happening in Edo State. It's happening in Benin City. It's happening everywhere. The issue is that now it's not all of them that publish, that film themselves. Some also film what this guy did. Now some people did it for highly influential people, and they have been using it as a source of blackmail, that they filmed without the knowledge of the person, the individual, and at the end of the day, when there is any crisis, they use it as a means of blackmailing and also making such an individual. So it happens in Nigeria. Don't forget that the guy also visited Ghana, and he stayed about 2 weeks for a security conference. When a man in that sensitive position can live this kind of lifestyle that is not a lifestyle of a role model, and is excited about it, I think their tradition permits it. That is why it is going on, because with one of the research I did, they said there are some men that can tell you that in the whole of this street, all the female there have been able to minister to them in this direction. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that to their tradition, it might be something that fly, but to morality and Christianity, it is wrong.
It's condemnable.
And when you look at some of the people this guy had sex with, some of them were even aware that he is filming them. Some of those women positioned the camera. They were excited with what is happening. So what I'm saying is that those who are to investigate him, coming to the investigation, the Christian faith condemn it in its totality. Now, that is, the action is condemnable. The man is married, he's supposed to stay with his wife. He's not supposed to look elsewhere. That is what the Christian faith believes in, that your sexual intercourse must be with you and your partner. Now, going else to go to other people's partner, when you look at those people that came in that video, you see that none of them were forced. You see women came with a pint in the office. They don't raise their gown, and it is just free for all. Now you know somebody that came with a pint, with a gown, inside the office to meet somebody, came prepared. The person was not coerced, was not forced. But don't also forget that the position the guy occupied can also subdue people to use sex as a negotiating point. Don't forget that some of those people, some of those ministers, some of those ministers' wives, some of them are under scrutiny, under the office of the guy. So sex may be a way out to say, let my husband not go to jail. Let us negotiate out of this thing. That it may be a negotiation. So all of them that came on that video did with the analysis attached. No one was forced. That is forced to do it. I'm not talking of emotional forced or administrative forced, because those are things that play around in what the man have done. The head of police force, ministers, president, junior sister, his own cousin, his nephew, and all the rest of them. And they don't see it as something wrong. But to Christian faith, is very wrong. But to those people who also leaked the video, don't also forget that the relationship of that guy with president and the position he occupied also allow people to be hunting him and hunt his seat.
Okay.
Now, releasing those videos, I think that the country did not do well, because they have done more havoc, not only to their nation, because they believe in doing it is their style. But we in Nigeria, is not our style. Those who practice it behind the door. They are not excited. They don't come to public and throw it open. Look at the guy. He's not showing any remorsefulness. He didn't see what he has done as something wrong, and he's doing it excitedly. The wife did the same thing, using saliva. The man is using saliva, and they are excited with what they are doing. But polluting the heart. Do you know how many women now use that thing as their morning devotion? That they watch it repeatedly. Do you know how many minds has been corrupted? Even young people who have been corrupted by that visual something. Because you see, anything visual, go with a spirit. And when you watch pornographic something, some people who are not pornographic addicts now have become addicts by the virtue of what they have seen. And I think that if in international law, there's a way Nigeria can hurt that country, that is hurt them, H-A-L-T, by what they have done, because they have corrupted. See some people send the invitation to the guy. We did a statistic of almost 10,000 women send the invitation that they, here am I, use me, here am I, I'm available. My husband is not doing. Do you know how many marriage now has been polluted? Do you know how many people who are managing their husband's sexual little performance and they are bearing it with what is going around? They have another thing, another kind of pollution coming into them. Do you know how many household will be separated by the virtue of what is happening now? Okay. And we don't, our own cyberspace in Nigeria must be regulated, that this kind of dangerous document must not fly out, because I feel that the guy is not remorse because they have a purpose, both the guy and his wife, and those who release it also have a purpose. What happened is little, but releasing it to the public when you are tracking fraud, this is if you are going to call it emotional fraud, or you are going to call it fraud attached to what you are tracking, it should be within that their intelligent community, not released. They can play this one to the president of their nation and Federal Executive Council of their land, not releasing it to the public, and they now make it. The thing is trending everywhere. Do you know how many million is made by this video that is trending, and it's not helping us?
Okay, thank you very much. Let's get how it affects the sensibilities of women, Doris, most especially as you heard what Igbasan said. It could possibly be a chip to bargain, a subject of bargain, you know, in order to get their husbands off the hook and all that. But this was circulated online, and we know the culture, you know, in Africa, how women are protected from, you know, exposing their bodies. But this came online. So as a woman activist, what do you say? What's the impact, as you see it, as it affects the women generally?
Okay. It's not a good news. It's a very wrong act to say, generally. I'm looking at the face of morality here. But there is something that we need to understand. Every nation has its own culture and tradition that governs the actions and inactions of the people. Culture is the way of life of the people, put in short. And coming from the angle of how things are being done in Equatorial Guinea, you will understand that that country has this strong, very strong patriarchal system where culture and tradition take toes on women. How do I mean by this? There are things that may I say commodification of women, or may I say subjugation. There are actions that actually subjugates or relegates and makes women subservient to men. It is so strong and very glaring in Equatorial Guinea in the way they do their things. Men are worshipped as God, and women have seen that as a normal way of life. They've accepted that, may I put it, slavery. I would just put, because how women are being looked at, how women are being treated, the discrimination in Equatorial Guinea against women is very, very strong. And this has led to proliferation of sex and other immoralities against women. You will understand that in Equatorial Guinea, like every other nation, what governs what we do, our actions, is the law. And we say that where law and the tradition conflicts, the law takes its precedence. You understand? But you will ask, does such law exist in Equatorial Guinea that can regulate these excesses in the society? And my answer will be yes, or it might be no. I will give you example. For instance, the law against trafficking or trafficking women in Equatorial Guinea was enacted in 2004. And I will tell you today categorically that since that 2004 till date, I will tell you that Equatorial Guinea have not been able to convict single trafficker in their country and have been unable to identify vulnerable persons or trafficked victims. So what am I trying to say? What I am trying to say is that their justice system is also very weak. It's very, very weak in the sense that this proliferation of sex and commodification of women has become a thing that has trended over the years.
Okay, how do we avoid this, you know, from infiltrating into other countries, most especially in Nigeria, for instance, the practice and that subjugation that women are being placed, like what we've perceived of Equatorial Guinea?
Okay, I will tell you that, number one, I will say, I've mentioned this earlier, that our cyberspace in Nigeria is so poor. I don't know what we are doing in terms of in the area of cybersecurity. This issue of this leaked videotape ought not to go viral the way it is, considering the population of Nigeria and the sensitivity of the nation. We are looking at the younger generations who has access, unlimited access to the internet. So having to be in an arena where, or a space where such immorality is being trended on a platter of gold is not healthy to our younger generation. And one thing I should also let you to understand is that people see this as a problem here in Nigeria, maybe in other parts of the world, but in Equatorial Guinea, is it actually a problem there? The answer will be no. Considering my analysis I just mentioned earlier, though maybe time will not permit me to give detailed analysis on how women are being subjugated, made relegated in Equatorial Guinea. So they have subjected themselves, they have accepted it as a reality. And you know, when such something trades and culture gives definition, culture gives justification to the patriarchal nature of the society, it becomes a very huge problem. I see it as an advantage. I see it as an opportunity. That's the way I view it. Okay. I view it as an opportunity where Nigeria, as we say that we are the giant of Africa, to extend that brotherly hands of fellowship in the sense of coming in to help them strengthen their system where it is very weak, and make sure that at least the same way we are trying to fight to give women a sense of belonging in Nigeria, we should as well extend it to them. And also the international community should as well not leverage on this as a business or a trade in terms of in their cyberspace and what have you, but rather to also come in to make sure that this problem is being addressed, and women should be seen as a human, not as a commodity that men can use. You know, that psyche has been built that whatever a man asks for, he gets. So it has to stop. Our body autonomy has to come in play.
Let's look at the Nigerian space. I know basically that we are not there yet in terms of closing the gap, the disparity between the women, the female and male gender in Nigeria. But can you tell of the Nigerian story and how these lessons learned can also help to, you know, put women, you know, in a better pedestal in terms of regard and respect for their bodies?
Look, let me tell you, I cannot tell you that Nigeria is not doing something to give women a sense of belonging. Nigeria have enacted fantastic, beautiful laws that gives protection to women. I will give you an example of these laws. Number one is the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. This is a law that promotes equality. This is a law that controls or provides sanity in the system. And it's a law that prohibits this act of sexual or sex escapade. Mostly when you know that you have law that protects you, what we need is just to make sure that we boost that awareness, that every individual in Nigeria should be aware that we have an instrument that empowers you as a woman. It does not necessarily mean that we are relegated just the way the situation is in Equatorial Guinea. At least today, I can categorically tell you that women, we have a voice. Though we have not gotten there, but we are almost getting there.
Okay, thank you, Doris.
Is something a Chinese man always said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. So it's a process, and we are actually getting closer to achieving. I think that as your final remarks on this. But before I come to Bishop Austin for a final remarks, let's get your perspective as a legal practitioner, Asunoge. Now, what do you see as punishment or retribution for such act in order to, prevent it from future occurrence?
Well, it will depend on what the laws in Equatorial Guinea are. If what happened between him and the women was consensual, then they were adults, you don't take that on him. For those who leaked the video, they could go in for cyber crime because they didn't have a right, a violation of his whatever. Then if Baltasa knew, for example, sleeping with 400 women, perhaps more, these were just the ones that were recorded, how healthy were all of these women? And so if he was involved in that kind of reckless behavior in a way that he could transmit disease to the other, he could go face charges for the issue of public health. Okay. Then again, that he had to use his office to, because someone is saying, oh, they consented. By how much did they? Because I'll give you one clear example. There was an issue that I handled. A lady had spoken with one of the security men because his mother had always come under intimidation and abuse, bullying from the father. The only people the father feared most probably were the security people. And so she had all of this and came. The man took her to a hotel somewhere, pretending to be an uncle, and filmed her, caused her to suck him. And by the time we came and somebody said, oh, why did she go there? I said, this was not the issue. This was not the issue. Of course, we dealt with that person in order not to take time. I have a friend who is an officer wearing the rank of a general. He told me that a lady had approached him, a military personnel, and said, please help me. Okay. Oga insists that I come to work, because you said they walked in there, they were not putting on anything. Oga insists that I come to work every day and I should not wear pants.
Jeez.
And so, whom were you going to report? You remember some had gone viral in our social media that there was an army officer who had done. They said the lady is insane. And the hierarchy. Remember what happened in South Ibia? A particular whatever who got filmed. So they all happen, whether you have the laws or not. If you do not have the right people who would insist in the enforcement of the law, we are not going nowhere.
Thank you very much, Malam Nuruddin Asunoge, for taking our time to be part of this. Well, let's get your comments on this in 30 seconds.
I think our country should make it clear that what was done, our cyber space must be protected. And even the people managing our cyber space must be also called to order on these things that came in. Because if it is coming in and there are people that are to track this information on cybersecurity, because the damage that is done to the public by that video also affect our security system. Okay. It affects our security system, affect our emotion, affect our family, affect Nigeria productivity.
Okay, thank you so much, Bishop Austin. I think we will continue to interact with that as time avails us. But I told you that was your closing remarks, but I don't know if you want to chip in one or two words.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay. Thank you.
So big thanks, Doris. Big thanks, Malam Nuruddin Asunoge and Bishop Austin Egbasa.